Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aisha and I am the Crafterpreneur. On this channel we talk about sewing, fashion, DIY and all that kind of stuff. Today I have something very special because after an extremely long hiatus I am finally ready to launch a new sewing pattern. So I introduce to you the Harper Pullover. So here she is in all her glory. I'm also wearing a version here. The Harper Pullover is a relaxed fit jumper, pullover, sweater, whatever you want to call it, with an oversized zip up collar, which when I say oversized, I truly mean oversized. This is actually a hacked version. I made everything a little bit smaller and cropped, but this version here is the original version. As you can see, this collar goes all the way over the shoulders, and if you look at the back it folds right over across like the shoulder blades, so it is truly an oversized collar. Now the reason for this is because this last winter and now we're coming up into spring, I've been seeing in ready to wear a lot of jumpers with like oversized collars, zip up collars, but I hadn't seen any out there in the pattern world. There are lots of different versions of quarter zip jumpers. There's loads of those out, but not with the collar I was looking for. So I just figured, you know what? I'm just gonna make one myself. So here we are with the Harper. So I'm very, very excited. And I've already made like 5 different versions. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. And I'll tell you why. For the most part, I spend quite a bit of my time in gym wear, mostly because I work out every single day, and then also leggings are super comfy, especially when I'm running around doing things on a day-to-day basis. So I find that something like this Harper Pullover looks pretty chic when you're wearing it on top of like a gym bottom. It looks very put together without actually being put together. It's also a really good transitional piece depending on the fabric that you use. This pattern's actually made for any kind of knit or sweater material, as long as it has at least a 20% stretch. And the good thing about this pattern is there is a stretch guide in there, so if you don't know what it is, I do have a guide that you can stretch your fabric against and find out what the stretch percentage is. So I've got you covered on that part. What else can I tell you about this pattern apart from the fact that I love it? It comes in a UK extra small all the way to a UK 3XL. So that ranges from UK size 4 all the way up to UK size 30. You can check the size guide to see where you fit in the scale and be able to cut out the right pattern. I would also say this pattern is good for a confident beginner, someone who's done a few easy projects, ready to step it up and make something with a fabric that maybe they haven't used before, like a knit. For the most part, the pattern is very straightforward in terms of cutting. There are only 5 pattern pieces that you need to cut either on the fold or as a pair. You can complete the whole project from cutting out your paper pattern to finishing the actual Harper Pullover in under 5 hours. So it's definitely a good weekend project, afternoon project that you can get something really, really cute out of in quite a short amount of time. So a great palette cleanser. As always for my patterns, it is a PDF pattern, so you will get a downloaded file with the instruction booklet, which should have clear pictures and any kind of information that you will need on the pattern. I am actually looking into projector files because I know quite a few of you out there use projectors, but I haven't quite got there yet. So for the most part, you will get from me an A4 pattern, US letter pattern, and an A0 pattern, which you can take to the copy shop. That's the Harper Pullover. If you're interested, you can head over to my Etsy store where you'll be able to find it. I will leave the link in the description bar below, along with a short description of what the pattern is and what you can expect to get. And also for those of you who are visual learners, the next part of this video is going to be a sew along where we will go through the pattern and how to put it together. And you'll see that it's pretty easy and straightforward. And once you've made one, you will make multiple, just like I have. That's enough of me gabbing on about my pattern. As you can tell, super excited, and also excited for the rest of this year because I've got a few patterns lined up. This year you're gonna get more than just one pattern from me, so I'm very excited about that. Anyway, we should get on to the tutorials. So if you're here to sew along, get ready because we're about to get into the tutorial. Happy sewing! So let's first talk about fabric. I used an army green chunky cotton knit for this project, but any knitted fabric or sweater fabric will work as long as there is at least 20% stretch to it. The pattern has a stretch guide so you can actually check this before sewing. You will also need a zipper that's at least 45 centimeters or 18 inches for this project. If you have a continuous zipper roll, that also works, but I would say use an open-ended one as it's better for installation instead of a closed-end zipper. And you'll see why when installing the collar. Before we start, let's go through the pattern pieces. So you should have a waistband, which is just one piece cut on the fold. You should also have one pair of cuffs. You should have a front piece, which is cut on the fold. One collar piece, which is also cut on the fold. The back piece, which is also cut on the fold. And finally, one pair of sleeves. Okay, let's sew. Okay, we are going to start off with the collar. First of all, you want to make your notches in the center fold. These will be marked in the pattern for you to transfer over. Open up your collar with the right sides facing upwards and then grab your zipper. Using the center notch as a guide, place the zipper with the right side facing down onto the collar edge. You will need to line up where the zipper starts with the notch. Then pin in place along the side of the collar. Depending on the zip, it should leave about 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance down the side before you get to zipper teeth. But if yours is a bit shorter, just make sure you have about 1 centimeter of seam allowance. When you get to the end of the collar, pin a marker on both sides of the zipper so you can match on the other side of the collar where it ends. Now you can open up the zipper and repeat the process for the other side using the marker to make sure that the placement is the same. Using a straight stitch, sew the zipper as close as you can get to the zipper teeth. I use the zipper foot that comes with my machine, which is double-sided, but if you have a normal foot or you have one of those single feet, that will also work. Next, fold the collar over with the right sides facing and sandwich the zipper between the two edges. Pin the two sides together and then fold the zipper excess away, making sure the zipper teeth start right at the fold. You can cut this section off before, but I found it easier to get the placement right if I cut it after. Then sew again as close to the zipper teeth as possible. This time, make sure you go slow and feel with your fingers so you don't break your needle because you will not be able to see the zipper teeth. Now you can turn the collar right sides out and check the zip. The zipper teeth should start right at the fold. If not, you can go back and sew it again. Once you've done that, you can also finish the seam with an overlocker or serger. Now you can close up the zip to check that it's even. Once you've done that, you can make a zipper stop at the bottom where the collar ends. You can do this with a machine, but I would suggest hand sewing because you have more control and you don't break any needles. Once you've done that, you can then cut off the excess zipper. Okay, collar is done onto the bodice. With right sides facing, place the front and the back bodice pieces together and pin at the shoulders. Then you sew the shoulders together with a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam. For the rest of this project, you can use an overlocker for the whole thing, or you can use a domestic machine. In this case, I will be using both. I will be using a straight stitch to sew my pieces together and then my overlocker to finish the seam. Open out the bodice with the wrong sides facing up. Now that the shoulders are together, we can now attach the collar. Bring both sides of the collar together and pin the collar to the neckline. Starting at the center back notch, move to the 2 shoulder seams and then pin down and around to the front corners. Make sure you check that the zipper is facing the right way. Once you've pinned, sew around the neckline with a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam. To get crisp corners, start your sewing from one side of the zip and sew to the edge. Keep the needle down and then lift your presser foot and turn the neckline until you line up with the next seam. Then carry on sewing around the neck until you get back round to the other corner. Once you approach the zip again, use the hand crank on your machine to slowly glide the needle between the zipper teeth and finish off your sewing line. Give the seam a light press, pushing the seam allowance to the outside, and then from the right side, top stitch around the neckline at 6 mm or 1/4 of an inch away from the seam line, catching the seam allowance underneath. Just like the collar, Drop the needle and pivot at the corners and take special care around the zip end. You should end up with something that looks like this. On to the sleeves. Each sleeve has front and back notches that will match the bodice. The easiest way to do this is to start by matching the center notch to the shoulder seam, then matching the ends of the sleeve to each end of the shoulder. Then you can go ahead and match the single notch to the front single notch, and then the double notch to the back double notch. Then after that, you can go ahead and evenly distribute the rest with pins. Once you've pinned everything together evenly, you can then sew it at 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam, and then repeat for the other sleeve. So this is what it looks like when the sleeves have been attached. And now it's time to close up the bodice, which we're going to do from the sleeves and the side seams. With the right sides together, pin the sleeves and the side seams, making sure that all the seams line up, especially the armpit seam. Sew together at a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch seam. It's better to start at the sleeve and make your way towards the armpit area. Once you get there, keep your needle down and then pivot the whole area until the side seam is in the sewing line. Then you can continue on to the hem. Finish with a serger or an overlock seam. Alright, so all that's left to do now is the cuffs and the waistband, and luckily they are basically the same method twice. So let's fold the cuffs over, matching the notches, right sides facing, and sew together at 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. You can also at the same time do the same thing with the waistband, matching the notches on the short side and sewing together at 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. Back to the cuffs. Fold the cuff in half, matching side seams, then flip the cuff, making sure that the seams are on the inside and the outside are showing the right side of the fabric. It should look a little something like this. Next, line up the seams and pin the cuff into 4 equal sections. This will help us attach the cuff evenly to the sleeve. Then you want to move over to the sleeve and starting at the side seam, pin that also into 4 equal sections. The idea is that when we attach the cuff, we can match the pins to each other so that we can evenly distribute the sleeve into the cuff. Slide the cuff over the sleeve edge so that the raw edges of both the sleeve and the cuff are aligned. Then match the pins together, making sure the seam of the cuff is matching the seam of the sleeve. You can then use the rest of the pins to evenly distribute the rest of the sleeve into the cuff. You may need to slightly stretch the cuff to fit into the sleeve. It should look something like this. Before you take it to sew, make sure that those side seams are matching. If not, now's a good time to redistribute, and then you can take it to the machine and sew at a 1 centimeter seam or 3/8 of an inch. Once you've sewn the seam, you can then finish with an overlocker or an overcast stitch. So that is the sleeves done. You can give them a light press or you can wait until the end, but now we're going to go and do the exact same thing for the waistband. So if you've been sewing along, then you would already have sewn your waistband together. This time we're going to fold the waistband with the right sides facing out and making sure that those center seams match up. Then, just like we did with the cuffs, we're going to pin in 4 equal sections. You can then go to the bodice and pin that in 4 equal sections as well. Just like we did with the cuffs, slide the waistband over the bottom of the bodice, aligning the raw edges.
This time though, we're going to match the pins together, making sure that the seam of the waistband is at the center back of the bodice. Match the other pins to the side seams and the center front, and then evenly distribute the rest of the hem into the waistband, slightly stretching the waistband to make it fit. Now you can sew the waistband on with a 1 centimeter seam or 3/8 of an inch, remembering to slightly stretch the waistband to evenly distribute the hem. And just to keep those seams nice and neat and tidy, finish those edges with either an overlocker or an overcast stitch. All that's left to do now is snip off any excess threads and then give it a nice press. Make sure those seams are nice and crisp. And then that's it. You have finished the Harper Pullover.
Okay, so if you're still here, then you probably just did the sew along, which means right now you're probably holding your very own Harper Pullover. Are you feeling proud? You should put it on immediately, like I'm wearing mine, and that one there, and the other 4 that are over there. Absolutely love them so much, and I hope you love yours too. And if you were just watching because you just wanted to watch the tutorial, well, thank you for watching to the very end. And if you do fancy the pattern now that you've seen how easy it is to put together, again, the link to my Etsy store is in the description bar below. So now that I've gabbed on and showed you how to put it together, I'm gonna go now so I can carry on with the next patterns to come. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, then let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, do you like the oversized collar? Do you think you're going to buy one? And if you do make something, then I would absolutely love to see your makes. You can either tag me on Instagram, the Crafterpreneur, or you can tag Crafterpreneur Studio and use the hashtag CS_Harper Pullover. I will put all the information down below so I can see all of your makes and show everybody how creative and amazing you all are. And if you haven't already, then subscribe and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you know when I post another video and another pattern. Thank you so much for your patience, and I'll see you guys in the next video.